You can't just waltz in and threaten to find me over a magnolia tree, Lila, I snap, blocking her view of my porch. My hand is steady, even as I see her eyes flick down to her clipboard, the same clipboard she clutches like a badge of office, the way some people hold on to old grudges. She tries to push her point, smile brittle. Maya, Wildflower Estates has guidelines for landscaping. Yours is, well, unusually vigorous. I don't flinch. You keep citing rules, but you never mention who actually planted that tree, or why. The words hang in the air, heavier than the summer heat. Lila's pen pauses. I lean in, voice low. You're not going to scare me off my own property. That magnolia was my husband's. The deeds got my name, and the land survey he hand drew is still in the county records. My gaze hardens. The cameras? Still connected to my server. You'd know if you checked before trespassing. Now let me back up. I'm Maya Patel, architect by trade, mother by necessity, and apparently the only person in Wildflower Estates willing to call Lila Gordon's bluff. I didn't move here looking for a fight, but I also didn't bury my husband just to see his legacy paved over with committee forms and empty threats. Before we go further, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. I want to see who's lived through their own HOA circus, and if you want to see how this story unfolds, stick around. You're not going to want to miss what's next. Most people think a house is just four walls and a mortgage payment. For me, it's a monument. The magnolia tree out front isn't just ornamental, it's living proof that my family belonged here, even when the board called us new blood behind closed doors. My husband, Anil, dug that sapling in the clay himself, said it was stubborn just like us. He didn't live to see it flower. I swore no one would uproot it, especially not Lila, with her rules and thin smiles. The week after Anil's funeral, the first violation showed up. Mailbox, too high. I fixed it. The next was the color of the shutters, not on the approved palette. I left them, dark blue, Anil's favorite. The fines stacked up. The real problem wasn't paint or landscaping, it was power, and Lila knew exactly how to use it. I tried to play nice. Attended the HOA meetings, brought brownies, from scratch, not the box, smiled through teeth-gritted lectures about community standards. It never made a dent. Every month, a new notice. This morning, I found her at the porch again, circling the magnolia, eyeing the root line like she was mapping her next attack. You're violating setback ordinances, she says, waving the clipboard for effect. It's a safety hazard. We'll have to ask you to trim it back or remove it entirely. No. My voice is sharper than I mean, but it's final. I let the silence stretch. Priya, my daughter, pre-law and sharper than any pruning shears, steps outside, phone in hand, eyebrows raised. Want me to live stream this, Mom? Lila's smile twitches. She hates being watched, hates losing control. There's no need for theatrics, Priya. We're just enforcing the rules. Yeah? Priya doesn't lower her phone. Because from here, it looks like harassment. That's the thing about Wildflower Estates. Looks matter more than truth. Every porch is spotless, every lawn the exact shade of envy green. But what you can't see are the battle scars. The little wars over wind chimes, kids' bikes, and yes, one stubborn magnolia. I stepped down from the porch and put myself between Lila and the tree. Write all the citations you want. We're not moving. Not for you, not for anyone. She huffs and makes a note, but her eyes linger on the trunk, on the memory Anil left us. I don't move until she's gone, shoes clicking like a warning shot all the way down the drive. I catch Priya's glance, and for a second, the fight drains out of me. Why does it always have to be us? She whispers. Because somebody has to draw the line, I say, tracing the bark with my thumb, and it's not moving, not while I'm still standing. Let the rest of them trim their trees and paint their shutters and bow to the clipboard brigade. I'm not giving up what matters. Not now, not ever. I watch Lila disappear down the sidewalk, her spine stiff as rebar, and only then let my shoulders sag. The morning is too bright, the kind that makes every flaw in the grass and sidewalk pop. Out here, flaws are an invitation for Lila's next crusade. Coffee? Priya asks, nudging me back inside. I nod, sinking into the kitchen chair. The kitchen's all sunlight and sharp corners, Anil's handiwork. There's the blueprint he taped inside the cabinet, edges soft from years of my fingers tracing them. I pull it out sometimes just to remember he built all this with love, not just a level and a loan. Priya's scrolling her phone, thumb flicking fast. You know she's going to keep pushing, right? Pushing's all she knows. I reach for my mug, the one with Anil's initials chipped at the rim. She's not satisfied unless everyone toes her invisible line. It's not even noon before the next reminder shows up, a bright orange slip jammed under our wiper blade. Improper vehicle alignment. Warning! Not a ticket, not a request, just a warning. Official enough to sour the day. By the time I walk out, Lila's already harassing Mrs. Ruiz 2 houses down, arguing about her garden gnome being offensive decor. Lila loves to say she's only enforcing rules for the community's good. I don't see anyone else smiling. I glance up at the windows. A curtain stirs in Greg Hansen's place. Treasurer, quiet type, the one who always forgets to vote at meetings and won't meet my eye in the grocery store. His silhouette freezes, then disappears. Priya joins me at the curb, squinting at the orange slip. Can she actually do this? She can try. I smooth the paper out, noticing a signature at the bottom. Lila's, in her neat teacher handwriting. This isn't about parking, this is about making sure I know she's watching. I stuff the slip in my pocket. They want me to move the car by 6 inches. 6. Priya barks a laugh. Wow. Next you'll say we're breathing too loud. You joke, but remember the wind chime ban last spring? I give her a wry smile. That was a classic. She rolls her eyes, but her voice lowers. People just let her. It's like they're scared. They are, I say quietly, glancing at Greg's window. Or tired. We head back inside. There's no peace today, just the weight of invisible eyes. Even the magnolia's petals seem to droop under the scrutiny. I try to focus on work, drafting blueprints for a new client, but I keep thinking about Anil, how he'd joke, fight the small battles, win the war. This feels less like a war and more like a siege, the kind that wears you down inch by inch. Priya's muttering at the laptop. Did you know Wildflower Estates has 32 different fines? Probably written in blood, I say, rubbing my temples. She grins, but I can tell she's worried. A knock at the door makes me jump. I open it to see Lila standing with a measuring tape, flanked by Mrs. Evans, the board secretary. Lila's smile is all edge. We need to confirm the grass height. Policy's policy. I mow every Saturday, I reply, not bothering to step aside. Mrs. Evans stays silent, eyes flicking from Lila to me. Her hands are trembling, barely noticeable unless you're looking. I see it. Lila pretends not to. Just routine, Lila says, but I can tell she's waiting for a crack. Some sign I'll back down. I keep receipts for the lawn service. You want a copy? Her mouth twitches, just for a second. That won't be necessary. We'll note compliance for now. They leave. I shut the door, pulse hammering in my ears. Priya appears behind me, holding up her phone, streamed the whole thing just in case. I laugh, a sound edged with nerves and pride. Good. We'll build our own record. She slips her arm through mine. If this is a war, we're fighting smart. In Wildflower Estates, it isn't the loud confrontations that wear you down, it's the drip, drip, drip of control. A warning here, a knock there. But we're not backing down, not for 6 inches, not for a blade of grass. After Lila and Mrs. Evans vanish, the quiet left behind feels loaded, like the pause before a thunderclap. I glance out the window. The neighborhood looks exactly the same. Kids' bikes toppled on the grass, American flags drooping in the heat, everything trimmed and proper. But behind those closed doors, everyone's bracing for the next tap on the shoulder. Priya sits at the kitchen counter, chin in hand, scrolling through a long list of HOA infractions posted on the community forum. Her frown deepens. It's not just us, she mutters, turning her phone toward me. Photos of violations, a bike left overnight, a mailbox with peeling paint, a flower bed that's too wild, all stamped with Lila's digital signature. She's got everyone scared to breathe. My phone buzzes. New email. Subject: HOA board meeting attendance required. My chest tightens. These meetings are part show, part shakedown. Still, I grab my notepad and a battered blue pen, Anil's with a chewed cap, and stuff them into my tote. If Lila expects me to shrink, she's picked the wrong target. Walking up to the community center, I spot Greg Hansen lingering outside, keyring jingling in one hand, suit jacket slung over his arm. He looks like he wants to melt into the bricks. When he sees me, he gives a jerky nod, then drops his gaze. Inside, the board has lined up like a firing squad behind the folding table. Lila in the center, Mrs. Evans to her right, Greg to her left. The room smells faintly of disinfectant and old coffee. A half-dozen neighbors huddle in the plastic chairs, faces tight, eyes darting. Lila taps the gavel. Let's begin. First on the agenda, repeat violations. Ms. Patel, your mailbox again. She leans forward, voice syrupy. You see, Maya, we must all adhere to standards for the community's good. I meet her gaze, steady. And what about the standard for fairness? I'd like to know how these rules are actually decided, or is that just for show? Greg's jaw works, but he stays silent. His foot taps under the table, fast enough to rattle the clipboard in his lap. I catch his eye for half a second, just enough to see the sweat beading along his temple. He looks away. A neighbor, Mrs. Ruiz, speaks up, her voice barely above a whisper. My daughter's bike was towed last week. I was never notified. Lila waves her off. The rules are clear, Mrs. Ruiz. If we make exceptions for one, it sets a precedent for all. Mrs. Evans tugs at her sleeve. We could, review the warning process? She suggests, her voice trembling. Lila's smile snaps into place, brittle and sharp. I'll note your concern. Now, Ms. Patel, back to your violations? I raise my phone, screen glowing. Just so we're clear, I'm recording this for transparency. A beat passes. Greg coughs, shoulders drawn up to his ears, fingers drumming a nervous code on his knee. The man looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. But he doesn't protest. I make a mental note of it. The meeting drags on, petty fines, draconian interpretations of the bylaws. Nobody pushes back, except me, and I can feel Lila's irritation building with each question I ask. She wants docility. I'm giving her facts. When the meeting finally breaks, Greg slips outside first, nearly tripping on the doormat. I follow, catching him by the side entrance. Greg, can I ask you something? Off the record? He fidgets with his keyring, not meeting my eye. I just handle the books, Maya. I don't. He glances at the community center window, voice dropping to a whisper. You should be careful. She likes to make things difficult. I nod. I'm used to difficult. His hand trembles. It's not always fair. That's all I'll say. He starts to leave but pauses, looking back once. Something's churning inside him. Guilt, fear, maybe both. He disappears around the corner. Walking home, I feel the tension shift. Lila's got the power, Greg's got secrets, and me? I've got nothing to lose. Priya's waiting at the door, phone still recording, face determined. How was it, she asks. I offered a tired smile. We're not alone, that's a start. Before I go inside, I have to ask, has anyone ever watched their own HOA turn into a circus? Or had a neighbor who looked ready to spill the truth but couldn't quite cross that line? Drop your stories or hometowns below. I want to know, what's the wildest community rule you've ever faced? Night brings a hush to Wildflower Estates, but it's the anxious kind, doors locked, curtains drawn a little tighter than usual. I can't sleep. The house is too quiet, as if even the pipes are holding their breath. I wander the halls, mug in hand, brushing my fingers along the baseboards Anil carved himself, feeling the old wood hume beneath my skin. Priya's light is still on. I peek in. She's propped up with a textbook, highlighter clenched between her teeth, phone screen aglow. You all right? I whisper. She nods. I'm just making sure the cameras are synced in case she tries anything. I want to tell her she's worrying for nothing, but the truth sits heavy in my stomach. Lila's not the type to give up after one board meeting. If anything, she'll double down. I check the locks, then step out onto the porch for air. The magnolia tree throws a shadow across the lawn. Its outline bolder tonight, a living line in the sand. The breeze smells like rain. I'm halfway to relaxed when the porch light flickers, once, twice, and I hear a faint, metallic clatter at the front door. Instinct kicks in. I step quietly, not making a sound. Through the sidelight, I catch a flash of blonde hair. Lila, in her pink windbreaker, clutching a ring of keys. She glances over her shoulder, checks the street, then fits a silver key into my lock. I nearly drop my mug. Without thinking, I yank the door open so hard it bounces off the stop. Looking for something? My voice slices through the dark. Lila jumps, clutching her keys like a lifeline. Her face is a mask, equal parts guilt and outrage. Maya, you startled me. There's been, a security concern in the neighborhood. I was just checking. Don't insult my intelligence, Lila. The police handle security. Unless you're law enforcement, you have no business using that key. I fold my arms, barring the doorway. She recovers, chin up. As HOA president, I'm authorized to conduct inspections if there's reason to believe rules are being broken. At 10:30 on a Tuesday night? Priya's behind me now, phone camera raised. Should I live stream this for the record? Lila pales, her bravado evaporates. You're being unreasonable. I was only... You were trespassing, I interrupt, keeping my voice flat. You put my family at risk and you know it. Behind her, the street is empty, no witnesses, no backup, just the quiet threat of exposure. I watch her recalibrate, searching for a way out. I'd appreciate it if you left now, I say, and if you ever use that key again, I'll call the police first, HOA second. She hesitates. Her hand trembles as she pockets the key ring. Fine, but this isn't over, Maya, not by a long shot. Her footsteps echoed down the driveway. Priya locks the door, hands shaking only a little. You think she'll come back? I sigh, pulling her into a quick hug. Maybe, but she won't catch us off guard next time. Priya grins, some of her nerves burned off by adrenaline. Let's see her try. We double-check every lock, every window. I even wedge a kitchen chair under the doorknob. As silly as it feels, it helps. Priya sets her phone to notify us at the slightest camera movement. Later, I find myself in the kitchen, staring at Anil's mug. Hairline cracks running through the handle, the same ones I'd glued after his last fall. It's a little battered, but it's still here, like us. I tuck it into the back of the cupboard, right next to the blueprint. A promise to hold the line no matter how many keys Lila waves in my face. The house is still, but not silent. There's a new energy, a coil of tension, but also something sharper. Defiance, maybe, or hope. As I head upstairs, I see Greg's porch light flick on across the street. He stands at his window, phone pressed to his ear, eyes darting nervously. Our gazes meet through the glass for a heartbeat before he pulls the blinds. Morning hits hard after a night of high alert. Neither Priya nor I slept much. Every little noise sounded like keys in the lock. I nurse a second cup of coffee, half listening to Priya review the security app. Her voice is flat from lack of sleep. No alerts overnight, unless you count Greg pacing his porch at 3 a.m. I force a smile. Maybe he's on our side, or maybe he's just got his own ghosts. The day drags, thick with the unspoken threat. I work, try to focus on client calls, but my eyes keep drifting to the door and the cameras. My mind won't stop replaying Lila's words. This isn't over. Late afternoon, thunder rumbles in the distance. The sky bruises with dark clouds, heavy with something unspoken. When the power flickers and the Wi-Fi drops out, the house falls into uneasy shadow. I check the breaker in the garage, nothing out of the ordinary, but the basement's different. It's always been the house's memory box, stuffed with Anil's old tools, boxes of paperwork, the odd forgotten science fair trophy. Priya stands at the top of the stairs, flashlight in hand. Want backup? She asks, bravado brittle but real. I manage a smirk. You ever seen a spider down there? You're the backup. She snorts and follows me down. The stairs creak, the air cool and thick. The only light is our bobbing flashlight beam, slicing through dust motes. The smell is earthy, old wood and paper, sharp tang of metal. The power box is fine, but as I turn to leave, the flashlight catches something odd. An overturned box in the corner, papers scattered. I know I didn't leave it like that. Priya kneels, sifting through envelopes. Mom, look at this! She holds up a folder marked HOA Confidential, faded and yellowed. The handwriting isn't mine or Anil's. I wipe the dust off. Must have belonged to the last owner. The Johnsons moved out so fast, remember? The file's heavier than it looks, filled with printouts, old meeting minutes, letters. Tucked inside is a handwritten note. Greg. Don't let them push you. You know it's right. Priya's brow furrows. Greg? As in Greg Hansen? A chill prickles down my spine. Guess he's been in over his head longer than we thought. A loud thunk upstairs makes us both freeze. My heart kicks hard. Priya kicks hard, and we wait. Listening for footsteps, voices, anything. Just silence, then the faint whir of the fridge kicking back on. Power's back. We head up, arms loaded with folders and a strange sense of mission. The storm's moved in, rain drumming the windows. Inside, we spread the files across the dining table, flipping through fines and letters, receipts for cash payments that never appeared on the official ledgers. There's even an old photo. Lila, years younger, standing at a podium. Greg beside her looking haunted. Priya leans over, reading a typed letter aloud. Any board member found leaking minutes or confidential info will be fined or removed, per Article 9, Section 2. She shakes her head. No wonder everyone's scared. I trace the letter's signature, Greg's, careful and neat. He's been trying to fight this for years, probably alone. We work in silence, cataloging every page, snapping photos for backup. Priya puts on a playlist, low, letting music fill the gaps. At some point, I find my hands shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. This isn't just about us anymore. There's a pattern here, one that goes deeper than grass height and mailbox placement. Lightning flashes, illuminating the magnolia through the rain-streaked window. Its branches sway wildly but refuse to break. I realize I'm gripping the mug again, thumb tracing the cracks. Some things hold on even when they shouldn't. Priya glances up, eyes fierce. They've been getting away with this forever, but not anymore. Not if we can help it, I say, voice steady. We're not just holding the line, we're digging in. The house feels different, like it's watching with us, waiting to see what we'll do next. The storm barely lets up by morning. Light seeps through rain-streaked windows, pale and watery, making the stacks of papers on the dining table look like something out of a detective novel. I hardly slept. Every time thunder rattled the glass, I pictured Lila sneaking back with her master key, or worse, someone covering their tracks. Priya is up before me, hunched over the documents, hair pulled back in a quick, lopsided bun. She looks up, eyes tired but lit with that stubborn spark. I think I found something, she says, pushing a crumpled envelope my way. I squint at the handwriting, familiar, shaky. Greg's name in the corner. Inside is a letter dated 3 years ago, warning him not to cross the board again or risk removal. There's a line in bold. Some things are worth losing sleep over, Greg. Don't forget who helped you. No signature, but the threat seeps through every word. Priya shakes her head. How do people live like this? Fear keeps folks in check more than any fine. My voice sounds strange in the quiet. We spread out the rest of the paperwork. One file details an emergency vote about removing a board member who leaked minutes. Another is a faded check register, cash paid by residents for edited lawn services, none of it accounted for in the official budget. A little further down, an old meeting agenda lists discussion of master key expansion, with Lila's name in bold at the top. It's all there, not just incompetence, but real manipulation. Priya scans receipts, lips moving as she calculates. They've been double charging for years. See here? Mrs. Ruiz paid twice for her mailbox fix, once cash, once through the HOA portal. No refund, no credit. My heart sinks. All those quiet complaints at meetings, every neighbor who got worn down or just left, it wasn't in their heads. Priya's phone buzzes. A notification from the security cameras. Nothing but rain and a stray dog. She relaxes, but only a little. Mid-morning, there's a timid knock at the door. I peek through the curtain. Greg, umbrella dripping, stands on the stoop. He glances over his shoulder like someone's watching. When I open the door, he won't quite meet my eyes. He steps inside, closing the umbrella with trembling hands. I heard about last night, he stammers. Is everything safe? As safe as it can be, with Lila in charge, I answer, folding my arms. You want coffee? He nods, voice catching. Thanks. In the kitchen, Greg eyes the papers. His hand hovers over the file with his old letter. I never wanted things to be like this, he whispers. It's just hard, you know. She says she'll ruin anyone who gets in her way. I've seen her do it. Priya leans in, gentle but direct. You don't have to keep letting her, there's more of us than there are of her. Greg flinches. It's not that simple. I push the crumpled letter toward him. Is this your handwriting? He nods, jaw working. They threatened my job, my mortgage. He laughs bitterly. But you, Maya, you don't scare easy. I don't have much left to lose, I say, the truth of it sharp and cold. Greg looks at the magnolia tree through the rain, then at Anil's battered mug on the table. His voice is barely a whisper. Your husband would have raised hell. Would've, I agree, smiling despite the ache. And he'd expect me to do the same. He leaves as quietly as he came, promise in his eyes but fear still winning out. As his car disappears, Priya's phone chimes. A text from an unknown number. Meet me after dark, I have something you'll want to see. Greg. Almost certainly. Priya grins. Looks like you finally rattled the right cage. For the first time all week, hope doesn't feel reckless. The storm breaks. The air smells clean. I glance out at the magnolia. Leaves dripping, roots holding tight, just like always. That tree's not going anywhere. And neither are we. Before the day ends, I'm curious, have you ever uncovered something in your own neighborhood that made you question everything? Maybe it was a hidden rule or someone finally speaking up. Drop your story or just your city in the comments. I want to know, what's the boldest stand you or someone you know ever took against unfairness? Night falls sharp and early. The rain's stopped, but everything's left slick and silver, as if the whole neighborhood's trying to wash itself clean. I keep checking the clock, waiting for Greg's promised meeting. Priya, nerves bundled up tight, paces between windows, phone in hand, making sure her flashlight and camera app are both ready. The new habit of documenting everything feels less like paranoia, more like smart living. At 9 sharp, a single text lights up Priya's phone. Come alone, back gate, 10 minutes. Priya squeezes my hand. You trust him? I hesitate. Trust? No. But I think he's more afraid of Lila than of us. And that might be enough. She slips out, hoodie pulled up, walking the long way round to avoid the Main Street cameras. I watch her from the kitchen window, breath fogging the glass. That girl's braver than I ever was at her age. 15 minutes later, she's back, cheeks flushed, hands jammed in her pockets. She dumps a flash drive and a folded note onto the table, then locks the door tight. Greg met me at the community garden. He looked different, like he finally chose a side. I thumb open the note. Greg's writing is jagged, words rushed. It's all here, audio, emails, meeting clips. I'm done hiding. Don't tell anyone it came from me, please. Priya plugs in the drive. We crowd around the laptop. Adrenaline making my hands shake. The first files are recording. Greg's voice, Lila's sharper. Lila, I'll use that master key whenever I want. Nobody's got the guts to stop me. Greg, you can't just... Lila, try me. They want their homes, they'll play by my rules. Priya sits back, face hardening. It's not just us. She's been threatening people for years. We sift through more files, screenshots of group chats, meeting minutes quietly edited before being posted, even a spreadsheet tracking difficult residents. There's a whole system. I keep seeing our name highlighted, along with Mrs. Ruiz and 3 other families. The final file is a video, grainy but clear. Lila at Greg's kitchen table slamming a stack of checks onto the counter. Split this with me, Greg, or I'll see to it you lose that nice house of yours. We stare at the screen, silent. It's not just bullying, it's theft, it's blackmail. Priya leans into me, voice fierce. We have enough. This is more than a complaint, it's a case. I nod, the decision is already made. I'm tired of playing defense. We're not just going to file a complaint, I say. We're going to expose her, but it has to be ironclad, no loopholes, no way she can spin it. Priya's already texting her judge mentor, nothing detailed, just asking for advice on gathering evidence. He said, record everything, don't threaten anyone, and if you can, get one more confirmation. I pulled the battered blueprint from the cabinet, smoothing it on the table next to Anil's mug. The old house plan, the stubborn roots of the magnolia sketched in the corner. Your dad would have wanted us to fight smart, not just loud. Priya gives a half smile. He'd want us to win. I look out at the tree, black against the night sky, branches tangled and defiant. We'll need allies. Mrs. Ruiz. Maybe even Mrs. Evans, Greg cracked. Others might too. She nods. I'll talk to Mrs. Ruiz tomorrow, quietly. And just like that, hope shifts into strategy. We're not alone. Not anymore. There's a plan forming, brittle but real. Priya grins, the weight finally lifting off her shoulders. It's time she gets a taste of her own medicine. But with the law on our side, I watch her, proud and terrified, but mostly just ready to drag every secret into the light. By sunrise, our kitchen looks like an evidence locker. Priya's already sifting through clips, making a color-coded list of every time Lila crossed a legal line. She's got her game face on. Barefoot, coffee in one hand, determination in the other. I spend the morning making calls, careful to use my personal cell. The judge Priya interns for can't be directly involved, but he points us to a neighbor-friendly lawyer, pro bono, but only if our documentation's airtight. No loose ends, he warns. You only get one shot at this. If Lila's got connections, she'll try to wriggle out. Mrs. Ruiz answers my text almost instantly. She's been sitting on her own pile of grievances, including a mysterious lawn damage charge that cost her 2 paychecks. She agrees to talk, but only in her backyard, behind the hummingbird feeders where Lila can't eavesdrop. I bring Priya and the flash drive. I always thought I was being paranoid, Mrs. Ruiz says, wringing her hands, but she got to my husband's job. She made sure I knew she could. Priya plays one of the voice memos, Lila threatening Greg, cold as a judge. Mrs. Ruiz listens, lips tight, eyes shining. I can get you a copy of her emails. She used my laptop once, forgot to log out. Will you speak up if we need you? I ask. She hesitates, then looks at Priya, maybe seeing her own daughter in that fierce, hopeful gaze. I will. Someone's got to. Priya leaves to visit Mrs. Evans, who, it turns out, has saved a folder marked Board Shenanigans. It's full of deleted drafts, meeting minutes where Lila edited out inconvenient facts. Mrs. Evans is pale, her hands trembling, but there's a stubbornness under the nerves. I didn't sign up for this mess. I'll tell the truth when it counts. By midday, we have a lineup. Greg, Mrs. Ruiz, Mrs. Evans, plus the flash drive, emails, and old receipts. Priya, always the techie, sets up a secure drive. No way she erases this, she promises, double encrypting everything. We sit at the table, blueprint and mug in front of us, and map out our next moves. I'll approach the lawyer tomorrow with our evidence package. Priya drafts an anonymous tip to the county inspector, just enough to get them sniffing around the HOA books. The house feels different again. It's not just defense, it's offense, and the walls themselves seem to lean in, rooting for us. I look at the magnolia, battered by last night's storm, but still stubbornly upright. I draw a line around it on Anil's blueprint, the same way he used to sketch fences and gardens. We hold the line here, I say. Priya looks up from her laptop. What if Lila comes after us, or tries to spin it all back on the board? We go public. My voice is low but sure. If she threatens us, we'll live stream the next meeting. The community deserves to know. Mrs. Evans texts later that afternoon. A screenshot of Lila's latest private memo, warning the board not to trust certain residents with sensitive info. It reeks of desperation. Priya laughs, and for a minute, it almost feels like a normal Saturday, just 2 women fighting for their home. We order pizza, splitting a root beer and letting the tension unwind a little. Priya scrolls through the files again, lining up timestamps for a neat timeline. You realize, she says, grinning, this is basically a sting operation. You, me, and the world's most dysfunctional HOA. Don't give her too much credit, I reply, popping a slice of mushroom into my mouth. She's just another bully who finally ran out of places to hide. For the first time in ages, I feel something close to peace. Not because it's over, far from it, but because we're not just reacting. We're taking back control, one truth at a time. As the sun sets behind the magnolia, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the window. Older, maybe, but not beaten down. The roots here run deep. And this time, we're not letting anyone dig them up. The next morning, Wildflower Estates wakes to birdsong and something more subtle. A shift in the air, like a dam about to burst. The streets are damp but sunlit, as if even the weather is rooting for change. I step outside with Priya, coffee steaming in mismatched mugs, and for once the neighborhood doesn't feel like it's pressing in on us. The magnolia stands tall, leaves still shining from last night's storm. I catch Mrs. Ruiz at her mailbox. She glances around before waving me over. You think she suspects anything? If Lila knew half of what we're up to, she'd have called an emergency board meeting by now, I say, lowering my voice. Just keep your head down a bit longer. We're almost ready. Priya grins, holding up her phone. Timeline's complete, every voice memo, every doctored email. It's all here and double backed up in the cloud. Mrs. Evans joins us, clutching a reusable grocery bag and looking as nervous as a first-year teacher on inspection day. I've started forwarding things to your lawyer friend, she whispers, darting a glance over her shoulder. My hands are still shaking. Priya gives her a reassuring nod. You're braver than you think. This is the part where Lila's power starts to slip. She can't control what she can't see. Words gotten out. Slowly, quietly, Mr. Carlson, who's always kept to himself, drops a folded note in my mailbox. If you need a witness, count me in. Even the couple down on Maple Lane, the ones who nearly sold their house last fall over petty fines, stop by to offer copies of their own HOA letters. Suddenly, we're not just a few difficult residents, we're a movement. By mid-afternoon, Priya suggests we test the waters. Let's see what happens if we push back in public, she means the community board, where rumors and neighborly gossip spread faster than wildfire. I post a single line under my name. Has anyone else had issues with HOA fees or privacy? Message me. Within an hour, my inbox fills with stories. Stray comments about fines, mysterious inspections, and Lila's infamous master key. It's like lighting a match in a room soaked in gasoline. Every complaint is another domino tipping toward the truth. But tension spikes too. Lila calls an urgent neighborhood update and slides flyers under every door. Priya reads ours aloud, voice dripping with sarcasm. Reminder, unauthorized recordings or gatherings are subject to fines. All residents must respect the HOA's authority. I can almost hear her teeth grinding through the paper. That night we hold our own gathering in the backyard, safe behind the magnolia's leafy shield. 6 neighbors join, each bringing their own piece of the puzzle. Letters, receipts, even a few old photos of Lila bullying former board members into silence. Priya syncs her laptop to a portable speaker. Greg's recording plays for the group, Lila's threats echoing in the warm, humid air. People shift uneasily at first, but as the evidence piles up, fear gives way to outrage. Mrs. Evans is the first to speak up, voice trembling but loud enough for everyone to hear. She's been hiding behind those rules for too long. I say it's time we pull the curtain. There's a chorus of agreement. Even the quiet ones, like Mr. Carlson, find their voices. Someone cracks a joke about the Karen Chronicles, and for a few minutes, we laugh. A nervous, hopeful sound. As the meeting winds down, Priya leans against the porch railing, her eyes on the magnolia. Feels different, doesn't it? Like we finally have a shot. I look at our neighbors. Tired, determined, no longer alone. It's more than a shot, Priya. It's the beginning of the end. For Lila, for all of this. For the first time, I believe it. If you've ever watched a neighborhood come together or seen someone finally stand up to the so-called authority, I want to hear about it. What's the boldest move your community ever pulled off? Drop your story or even just your city below. You might be surprised who's reading and ready to cheer you on. The day of the HOA's urgent update arrives with the weight of a final exam. The air in Wildflower Estates hums. Nobody says it, but everyone knows this meeting isn't just another flex from Lila. This is the showdown. Priya spent the morning running system checks, charging devices, triple testing the live stream connection. Her nerves are showing, but in flashes of sarcasm, not fear. I walk the neighborhood before the meeting, trying to burn off adrenaline. The magnolia's flowers have begun to fall, pink petals dotting the grass, little reminders that beauty outlasts drama. Neighbors meet my gaze, and instead of the usual awkward half-nod, they hold it. Mrs. Evans even smiles. Priya's idea is genius. She'll stream the meeting privately to her judge mentor and a few trusted friends just in case Lila tries to twist the truth. We set up the phone, tucking it behind a row of juice bottles in Priya's oversized tote. At the clubhouse, every seat is filled. Lila stands at the front, her signature clipboard clutched so tightly her knuckles are bone white. She glances at Priya's tote but lets it slide. She must think tonight will be business as usual. A little posturing, another round of threats, everyone going home scared and silent. "Let's get started," Lila says, voice syrupy sweet. "We have several residents who have failed to comply with HOA guidelines. In particular," her eyes lock on me, "the Patels have accumulated a worrying number of citations." The crowd shifts. No one laughs, no one claps. I catch a few eyes, Mrs. Ruiz, Greg, even Mr. Carlson. Waiting? Not blinking? Priya's phone vibrates once. The stream is live. Her judge mentor's watching. I can almost feel his steady presence through the screen. Lila launches into her speech, rattling off fines and veiled accusations. She's in her element until Priya interrupts. "Can we address something first?" Priya's voice is loud, unshaking. Specifically, the board's use of the master key for unsanctioned inspections. Lila's face freezes for half a heartbeat. She blinks, then forces a smile. "That's not on the agenda." It is now. I stand up, holding a folder. We have evidence, recordings, emails, receipts, proving systematic abuse of authority. We've already shared it with the HOA's legal counsel and local law enforcement. The air changes. A ripple of whispers breaks out. Lila's grip on her clipboard slips. This is slander, unsubstantiated." Greg stands. "It's not slander if it's true. I've heard her threaten people. She threatened me, and I'm not the only one." Mrs. Evans rises, voice trembling but clear. "I have records of minutes Lila changed. I'm willing to testify." Mrs. Ruiz speaks next. "My family was harassed. We all were. I want it on the record." Priya presses play on the flash drive's best recording. Lila's voice, cold, unmistakable, fills the clubhouse. "They want their homes? They'll play by my rules." You can hear Greg's nervous reply, Lila's threat, her laughter. The room erupts, outrage, disbelief, a few people in tears. Someone's filming now, not just Priya. Lila tries to shout over the noise, but her voice is lost in the storm of voices demanding answers. Security is called, not for us, but for her. Someone whispers, "About time." Even the board's lawyer steps in, promising a formal investigation. In the chaos, Priya catches my eye and nods, a fierce smile on her lips. "We did it, Mom," she mouths. For a moment, the years of fear and frustration melt away. I clutch Anil's mug in my pocket, feeling the old cracks and the promise he left behind. The magnolia outside glows in the evening sun, battered but still standing. We're not done, but the story isn't hers anymore, it's ours. The aftermath of the HOA meeting is a blur, faces flushed with adrenaline, neighbors gathering in loose knots on sidewalks and front lawns, everyone buzzing with the same question: what happens now? Lila's stormed out, security trailing her, but her hold over Wildflower Estates has cracked. Even the board's lawyer looked pale as he collected our evidence, assuring us the authorities will handle this from here. It's the first time anyone's heard him sound uncertain. Back home, I set Anil's mug carefully on the windowsill, letting the last rays of sunlight glint through the old hairline cracks. Priya drops her tote by the door, kicks off her shoes, and for a moment just breathes. She looks tired, but taller, like the weight on her shoulders has finally shifted. "You think it's really over?" she asks, voice barely above a whisper. "Not over," I say, rubbing her back, "but we've changed the story. We don't have to hide anymore." My phone buzzes with messages, neighbors thanking us, others asking what comes next, a few still wary. Greg texts a simple, "Thank you. I slept for the first time in months." Mrs. Ruiz sends a photo of her daughter riding her bike in the street, no longer looking over her shoulder. By morning, word spreads that the board has called an emergency session minus Lila. Greg steps up as interim president, his voice steadier than I've ever heard it. Mrs. Evans is voted secretary, Mrs. Ruiz takes over neighborhood events. It's a reshuffling, but it feels honest. Open. Priya and I attend, and for once nobody's afraid to speak up. At the session, the board lays out a plan, an independent audit of HOA finances, a review of every fine and violation in the past 3 years, and most crucial, a promise to revise the bylaws so nobody ever wields unchecked power again. Greg stands before us, hands only slightly trembling, and apologizes. "We should have listened sooner. From now on, no one gets silenced here. There's a smattering of applause. Mrs. Evans wipes away tears. I catch Priya's eye and she grins, mouthing, "About time." Outside, the air feels lighter. Neighbors gather on the street, swapping stories like old friends instead of cautious bystanders. Someone brings out lemonade. Kids draw chalk lines around the magnolia tree, daring each other to jump the roots. The tree's battered from the storms, but it stands same as ever, a stubborn symbol in a neighborhood learning how to grow new roots. That evening, as dusk settles in, Priya sets her phone on the porch railing and records a short video. Not a dramatic speech, just her voice, clear and certain. If you're ever scared to speak up, remember, you're not the only one. Sometimes it just takes one person to show the rest it's possible. She sends it to her judge mentor, who replies with a simple, "Proud of you. Now teach someone else." The night is quiet, but it's a different kind of silence. No more listening for Lila's footsteps, no more second-guessing every knock. Just the sounds of a neighborhood finding itself again. Kids laughing, dogs barking, doors left ajar as people drift in and out of each other's lives. I sit beneath the magnolia with Anil's mug in hand, feeling the pulse of old memories and something new, hope. I don't know what the next chapter brings, but for the first time, I'm not afraid to turn the page. A week after the board's reshuffle, Wildflower Estates finally feels like a place worth calling home. Not because everything's perfect, far from it, but because the walls don't echo with fear anymore. I step outside in the early light, grass damp beneath my feet, and linger beneath the magnolia. It's battered, some petals gone, but more blossoms have opened, stubborn as hope. The new board's first act is a community cleanup. Kids weave between grown-ups, gathering trash, pulling weeds, giggling as they dodge chalk lines still drawn around the magnolia's roots. Greg's got a clipboard again, but now it's for signing up volunteers, not citations. Mrs. Evans organizes snacks, Mrs. Ruiz runs the lemonade table, and even Mr. Carlson brings his grill out front. It feels almost festive. Neighbors laughing, trading old stories, discovering they have more in common than complaints. Priya spends the afternoon helping Mrs. Ruiz's daughter repaint their mailbox. Bright teal and impossible to ignore. She comes back with blue paint smudges on her cheek and a grin that's all sunshine. "Guess we're trendsetters now, huh?" she jokes, waving a paintbrush at the magnolia. In the kitchen, I unpack the last of the basement boxes. Most of it's junk, but at the bottom is Anil's old gardening hat, soft and sun-bleached. I slip it on, suddenly remembering him showing Priya how to tie up tomato vines, the way he'd nudge her with a wink and say, "Let things grow wild sometimes." I head outside, trowel in hand, and start freshening up the flower beds, letting the new roots stretch wherever they want. As dusk falls, neighbors gather under the magnolia. Someone brings out a guitar. Priya starts up her phone, not for evidence, just for a group photo. We crowd in, laughing, faces close. I catch my own reflection in the window. A little older, maybe, but unbowed. After dinner, I sit on the porch swing, mug in hand, Priya beside me. We watch as the porch lights blink on one by one down the street, not as warnings, but as invitations. Priya nudges me, voice low. "Do you think Dad would have liked this?" I nod, warmth swelling in my chest. He'd have loved it, especially the mess. He always said the best things in life are just a little bit wild. There's a peace here now, not the silence of fear, but the quiet that comes when you know you've finally done right by the people you love. The magnolia, battered and blooming, stands as a promise. Some roots are meant to last. I walk out, touch the old bark, and leave Anil's hat on a branch. A thank you and a promise. Whatever comes next, we'll meet it head on. Sometimes, all it takes is one person saying, "Enough," to change the story for everyone. I'm proud that was us. And if you're still watching, tell me, have you ever had to fight for your home, your dignity, or your family's legacy? Maybe you've stood up to a bully, or maybe you're just dreaming of the day you will. Drop your story, your city, or just a word in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from and what your magnolia is.